nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me away to go. Leave me, run like you never did. No, believe me, run like you never run before.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast in association with the Scottish Rugby Blog. Today I'm joined by Alan MacDonald. How the hell are you, Alan?
I'm very well, thank you, very well. I've been a slightly fraught evening, but all good.
Good show. And by the wonderful Leslie. How are you today?
All good in the hood, Mark. All good in the hood. How are you?
I'm very well indeed, thanks, yeah. Welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast. Our podcast is on the part of the Sports Social Network. Please give us a follow or a like on your podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and hit the subscribe button. You can also find us on social media, and all the links can be found on our website, www.scottishrugbyblog.co.uk. If you're listening on Apple and you like what we do, please leave us a review, as that helps as well. If you'd like more content and want to support what we do, you can subscribe to our Patreon for just £3 a month plus VAT. That gives you access to our super secret Facebook group and also the second section of the pod, where we get a little bit looser about the language and much more coverage, so you get at least twice the content when we move to Patreon. Today we're going to have a look at the results from the weekend for both the professional teams and the women's final Six Nations match against Ireland. And then when we move over to Patreon, we will have a brief review of the seasons for both Edinburgh and Glasgow, and also look at the whole of the Women's Six Nations Championship and how we feel about that. Okay. And forgive us all tonight, please, because we've had a minor technical hiccup. So I'm winging it on the presentation front, on the hosting front. So we'll have to go with it and see how we do while Johnny tries to dry out his laptop. Right. Starting with news, there's not a lot of news, but the first and most significant one, I think, is about the early passing of Scotland legend Scott Hastings. Scott Hastings had 65 caps for Scotland, scoring 10 tries, and he also played at 2 World Cups in 91 and 95. His first cap was at France at home on the same day as Gavin, and I believe you and I were both at that match, Alan.
That is indeed. In fact, Scott Hastings played a massive part in my love of rugby, because that was my very first game at Murrayfield, sitting in the West Stand, looking out behind pillars, to see to see the game. But what a game it was! What a player Scott was.
He was a fantastic player, and consequently he went on 2 Lions tours to both Australia and New Zealand. The Australia one, of course, they won, and he played in 2 of the tests alongside Jerry Guscott. And he was a massive part of the Scotland team that won the 1990 Grand Slam.
That tackle on Rory Underwood.
Yes, absolutely. Many people have pointed out that if you can drill that win down to one individual moment that secured the title for us, it was probably Scott Hastings' tackle on Rory Underwood just short of the line that turned the game massively in our favour.
Well, you must remember the lift that gave us in the crowd as well, Mark, because we were all roaring at that point.
Yeah, it's one of those where were you when Elvis died moments. I wasn't actually in the crowd, but I can tell you exactly where I was. I had moved down south by that point. I was living in Wales, and I watched it in a little pub in a place called Treharris down in the Merthyr Valley. And there was only there was one Englishman in the pub who happened to be the landlord, and one Scot. And it's fair to say that I was amongst friends during that match in a
Proper
pub.
Celtic Cousins moment.
Yeah, absolutely. But I know I've heard the jokes about people buying their England Grand Slam 1990 jumpers and things before they'd even won, because the expectation was that they would walk it. But the landlord of the pub genuinely had bought an England Grand Slam 1990 tie, and was proudly wearing it. I don't know I can't remember what my end of the bet was, but to his credit, he stood on his bar and cut the tie up with a pair of scissors at the end of the match, which was his end of the bet.
I'm not sure he should have allowed anything sharp at the end of that match.
Probably not. But no, I mean, one of the best matches in Scottish rugby ever, I suspect, at 1990 win. One of the things we should remember as well is that Scott Hastings played through the amateur period. He only became professional in 96, I think, when he joined Edinburgh. He played for Edinburgh in 96 to 99 after professionalism in 95. But he played previously for Watsonians. He was a one-club man, and he played for Watsonians, making, and I checked this when I was doing a bit of reading up on it, 226 club appearances for Watsonians, which in itself is pretty remarkable. Mm-hmm. And with them, they won the Premiership title in 97 and 98. And he also got a Melrose Sevens winners medal in 96. He used to love the Sevens game, apparently, and I didn't know that about him until I've been doing a wee bit of reading up. He played for Edinburgh District back in the old district days. And when he played for Edinburgh in the professional era, they won the Inter-District Championship in 97 and 98 and the 98 to 99 season with him as captain. So I think Leslie made the point earlier. Most people who are not of our vintage, Alan and I's, not Leslie's, know Scott as a commentator. But he really had, when you look into it, a fantastic playing career, yeah.
Yeah. And I think his first Lions tour, I think they lost the first match in '89, and then Scott was brought into the team. So, and then, they won the series from there, and that's usually not how Lions series go, is it? If you lose the first match, you're in big trouble. I think be able to overcome that.
I have a feeling it might be the only one, or certainly the first one, where the Lions lost game one and still won the series. Mm-hmm. Which I think it's to be expected, because the Lions tour is a hugely attritional thing, even in the modern era. Mm-hmm. We're saying as well that as well as his punditry, he did a lot of charity work, notably alongside his late wife Jenny, as ambassador for Support in Mind Scotland, which is a mental health charity, and also as chair of the My Name's Dory Foundation. So, yeah, everything I read and hear about him comes across like he was an absolutely top bloke.
I tried to remember. There were a lot of moments I could remember there was the kamikaze tackle from the Japanese player just flying into him in a way that was illegal then, and would be a double red card now, but nothing happened just because it looked so hopeless, just flying into Scott Hastings and knocking him to touch. And obviously we talked about the Rory Underwood tackle, but honestly, the main thing I think about when I think of Scott Hastings is that grin. And he seemed to live like he played with that massive smile on his face. And this was a man, as you've said, that didn't have his troubles to seek in his private life and things, but still all the photos are of him just smiling. I think the only time he didn't smile was when Guscott tried to speak to him before the 1990 game, and he said he was just gone.
Yeah, and that seems to be the idea. He was hugely competitive, as any of these pros are, of course, as any of these top players are, and clearly massively focused before the matches. I was very interested in Tom English's comment to Sean Lenine. I think it was Sean Lenine he was talking to, where he had said to Scott, everybody remembers Geach's fantastic speech prior to the 1990 match, getting everybody fired up for it. How did you feel about it? And Scott said, I didn't even remember him giving a speech, because he was just completely and utterly focused. That was the kind of player he was. So incredibly sad news, 61 years old. And I can only say our thoughts with his family and friends. Okay, to move on to the only other piece of news we have is, has only recently come through, that Ali Miller has signed an extension at Glasgow. Now, we've had some discussion about Ali Miller as a player. Leslie, your thoughts? Is he a possible option to while Scotland qualified, most likely to be covered while other people are in the Scotland camp?
Yeah, he's a very solid rugby player without being a fancy rugby player. He never really he doesn't really let Glasgow down. If he's called upon, he'll absolutely do his best. He'll do a job. He's a solid Rossford 6 out of 10. Yeah. I don't think anyone would have too much issue with Ali extending his contract and being there when the internationals are away and shoring up the back row or dipping out the second row if need be. But yeah, solid guy, no issues. Can't see many folks being too disappointed in that signing. Yeah,
and Alan, he's probably a good Glasgow mould player because he seems to have a range of abilities, a range of things he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously he's done quite a lot in the last two games, and second row, I know he started in back row in the Ulster game, but obviously with Gregor Brown going off, he was in the second row fairly quickly. And actually, I think he's occupying the Rob Harley, Henko Venter kind of slot. I realise a lot of Glasgow fans will be screaming at their podcast devices, going, "There's no Henko Venter." But I think that solid player that's available when internationals are away and who can step in and do an excellent job at the business end of the season, is exactly the spot that these players have in the squad.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree. I mentioned to you guys, I particularly when I saw him in the early days, I liked Ali Miller as a player. I think he's got a wee bit of the Josh Bayliss about him, in that he's rangy and he's got speed. I don't think he's had enough game time to really prove that yet, but who knows? Hopefully that'll come, because I do think he's got potential. So I don't think it's a bad signing at all. I think it's a solid signing for Glasgow. Okay, moving on to last weekend's games, because that really is the news that we're getting to the tail end of the season, so we're not seeing huge swathes of news. Moving on to last weekend's games. Usually we would do them in chronological order, but due to the nature of the games, it would be good to finish on a happy note with Glasgow last, if everybody is happy with that. Yeah. So let's cover off Edinburgh 5, Connacht 26 at the Hive in Edinburgh. Edinburgh seemed to produce a bit of pressure, but no points. Leslie, did you?
Do we have to talk about this, Mark? Do we have to? I mean, have I not suffered enough? I watched this game so that other people didn't have to watch it, and
Thank you for your
that
service.
should be enough.
Your sacrifice is not forgotten.
Yeah. I mean, my expectations are low, but good Lord, that was a tough old watch. Yes, they were camped in the 22 for huge chunks of the game and just couldn't do anything with it. Really great defence. Can't take that away from Connacht. They had something to play for. They were looking for top 8. I get it. Edinburgh just looked like they were done for the season. 1 foot on the beach, and it was really disappointing.
Yeah.
I thought we had maybe turned a corner a little bit, but that was really poor. Lots of unforced errors, lots of stupid dropping of the ball, just really silly stuff. And yeah, I'm glad the season's finished. I'm sure the players feel the same too. And it's very sad that lots of players are going, coaches are going, but it cannot get too much worse.
Is Hector Patterson at least a bright spot in there?
Oh yeah. Hector, the young guns, I would say, the young team. Your Hector Pattersons, your Liam McConnells, your Blythe Lafferty brothers have all been very good when they've had the chance to play this season. I thought Hector especially has been very good. He's looked very comfortable in that 9 shirt. He's had very few mistakes over his. He's a running threat. He's sensible with it.
Yeah.
Very bright future. I hope it continues, but he needs a decent 10 and some decent centres round about him, I would say.
Yeah, and Brian Dalglish saying on the chat that Edinburgh had 61% possession to Connacht 39, which says it all about the attack and game plan or lack of.
That's all Brian Dalglish had to say about the game, and I think his other. I told him it was an early contender for the pod title. It would be any other week, but I think it has to be. It can't be an Edinburgh pod title in the week that Glasgow topped the URC at the end of the season. But gutless, clueless, spineless was Brian's comment, and other than speculating on how anyone could be gutless and spineless at the same time, it obviously just. But I think
always the medic.
Wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Edinburgh last game of the season at home, absolutely nothing to lose. That's not what you'd expect from a team in that position, Eleni.
It just. Well, I suppose they were up against someone that did have a dog in the fight, didn't they? Because Connacht are now playing Glasgow.
Connacht very much in the dog in the fight, yeah.
So there is an element there whereby, Connacht are Yeah, Connacht did have something to play for. Edinburgh didn't, and maybe there's some slight excuse there in that you're up against someone that's incredibly committed, but Connacht were well ahead, and they just rope-a-dope to Edinburgh, from my understanding. I was watching the Glasgow game because Leslie fell in that landmine for us.
Took one for the team there.
Yeah, big time.
He did. I mean, I did have I score notifications set up from the Hive, and I was like, oh dear.
Yeah. I did a wee bit of channel flicking back and forward until I got bored about 10 minutes in and just stuck with the Glasgow game.
I think what the most frustrating part was, a lot of Connacht's tries just sort of came from nothing. It wasn't like I think they had one try was at the line, pick and go kind of stuff. The rest were like intercepts, just a wee chip of a ball and they were away type thing. Edinburgh just couldn't live with it, and they were away. Some iffy tackling also. A little bit of a lack of commitment, shall we say.
Right.
Leslie, if they
not
got
good
injured, they might have ruined their holiday. Now, come on, you have to think about that.
I know you don't want to be on your holiday with your leg in a cast. I get it.
Or a black eye. A black eye, how's that going to look in the discotheque?
Ruin the pictures, you know. Disco. Okay, boomer.
I'm an elder Gen X, I'll have you know.
Okay. I'm only kidding.
Yeah. So, yeah, not great. I'm going to talk about the women v Ireland now, because I genuinely think we should finish on Glasgow. So, Ireland 54, Scotland 5 was not a result I saw coming. Leslie, how about you?
The score was more than I expected, but I did expect an Ireland win just because Ireland are very connected as a team. Their coach, Scott Beamont, has only made 4 changes across all of their games of 4 players. So it's a very stable, team. Scotland are not that. We've lost quite a few players across the campaign. We're bringing in newbies. It was always going to be hard. We've seen the Celtic Challenge games with Edinburgh and Glasgow playing the Irish teams, and it's been very bad. So not a massive surprise that they lost, but I think the score was much more, especially that first half.
Do we think this is the Celtic Challenge table just being reflected in the international game now? That when we've lost a lot of our frontline players who play down south, the second string, the depth we have, is Celtic Challenge players, and the Celtic Challenge table, we're down the bottom of that, right?
Yeah. I mean, Ireland have 2 teams in the Celtic Challenge, and I think all but 3 or 4 of their players play in the Celtic Challenge. So it's a bit like Leinster, I guess. You've got that connection from club to country. They know each other. They play each other. It's not like the Scotland team where the players are either in a Celtic Challenge team or scattered throughout the PWR. They're not connected in the same way. I guess for Sione and the rest of the coaching team, it is an eye opener as to what he's dealing with. I guess that when the frontliners are not there, he's going to have to continue to develop depth.
Yeah. Alan, do you think the SRU will see this as a wake-up call?
think to do that, they'd have to demonstrate that they actually care about women's rugby. And I think I would love to say that yes, and try and take a positive. I try to be positive. I try to take a positive take on where things are. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm not convinced the SRU are committed as committed as we would hope they would be to women's international rugby. So I'll be delighted if I'm proven wrong, but I don't see this as being a wake-up call.
Yes. Yeah, I like you would be delighted for you to be proven wrong, but I haven't seen any behaviour that suggests that you are from the SRU. So we shall see. I guess one of the benefits that came out of it, though, is that Aisha Sutcliffe scored again.
Who's she? When did she start playing her rugby?
Yeah, it's funny. Might have been Highland.
Yeah.
She's going well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it bodes well for a hooker position.
I think, look, if we're looking for a positive for the women's team, I think there is a positive in that a lot of players have had a chance ahead of schedule to play highly competitive games. And, you look at the England side that played in the awful tour, the one where everyone was thinking, oh, it's dreadful, etc. And then that's when Johnny Wilkinson made his debut in and things like that.
Yeah, I remember.
My first ever game for a Josson under 14s, we got beaten 97-0 by West of Scotland. And yet that team stayed together to under 18s and we went undefeated in a season, under 18 level. So I think there is something about a team being forged together and people getting a chance. And look, they know how bad it can be. These are highly driven players. I am sure they're hurting and upset. They will want to make it better. So they might see it as a wake-up call. I think they will see it as a wake-up call, even if the SRU doesn't. So that's the positive. I'm
fairly certain I mentioned it on here before, but I remember an interview some years ago when the interviewer said, "Oh, Keith, you mentioned that you get very little time to think in international rugby." And Keith said, "No, you get no time to think in international rugby. Everything has to be instinctive." And irrespective of the fact, those of us that haven't played at anything like that level that the women are, the step up from club to international will still be huge. So they will learn from that. And it will be a shock to the system, but it will still be a learning opportunity. So there is some positive there, I guess.
I think
Sorry,
I was just going to say, I think the second half they did rally a bit because they held Ireland to one try, I think.
Yeah, 7 points in the second half. Yeah.
So hopefully they've seen what went wrong, at least in the first half, and obviously they tried to fix it and did a pretty good job and got a try in the end.
Yes. Yeah.
It could have been worse the second half.
I think, interestingly, we were talking about Edinburgh having all the pressure and no points. The stat, and I will thank Josh Gardner for this because I hadn't spotted it and went looking after he mentioned it on their pod, that they made the first 22 entry by the Scotland women was on 72 minutes. To me, that speaks of, you can talk about Ireland's defence or Scotland's attack or anything like that, or intent, but to me that sounds like a system error. That sounds like there was something, the system was not working or the women were not able to play the system that the coach wanted them to play.
Did you see Helen Nelson's post-game chat at all?
No, I missed that.
she mentioned that they stopped kicking so much in the second half and carried the ball more. And that was basically what the coaches had told them to do. And obviously that kind of worked.
Right. Okay.
So it's like they were following the plan, but the plan was the wrong plan. So,
yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll talk a little bit.
And Twickenham in what 2019, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Without the comeback, sadly. But no, we'll talk a little bit more in depth about their the Six Nations tournament when we get to the Patreon and the points for improvement that we can see, because there are there. But as I say, we'll talk about that in the review in the Patreon. So finally, Ulster 22, Glasgow 26 in Belfast. Top spot in the URC secured for Glasgow, which is fantastic in itself, which means home advantage all the way to the final. Do we believe that the final will be back on now in Murrayfield, Leslie?
well, I first heard that rumour through the week when I was listening to Scrum 5 podcast, and they had Tom English on, who was saying, oh, well, you know, the SRU are now saying they're going to try and turn Murrayfield around. And then I've heard it on another podcast as well. I can't remember which one. And it was More or Nothing. It was Ryan Wilson, I think, mentioned it, who happens to work for Glasgow. So it definitely seems like they're going to pull out all the stops if Glasgow get there to be able to host it at Murrayfield, which is the right thing to do.
Yes, absolutely.
I think Tom said that the SRU were going at all guns blazing to do it because it would be a very bad look for the SRU if it wasn't able to be held in Scotland.
Yeah. Glasgow securing home advantage with their likely, the most likely contender in the final being Leinster. Touting Belfast as a potential location for Glasgow's home advantage is not ideal, Alan.
We're not on the Patreon. I can't say what I think about that fully.
I cannot speak.
I can't speak. You got to wonder if the SRU were actually hoping that Glasgow didn't get top spot, which meant they wouldn't have to worry about if Glasgow had been second, they wouldn't have to worry about a home final, or much less likely to.
Yeah, I would be equally convinced that the people at the SRU book the singers in Stetsons don't even talk to the people at the SRU who do the rugby side of things. I could easily be convinced that this was a left-hand, right-hand thing from what little I've seen about how the SRU runs. Simple.
Having worked for nearly 30 years in the NHS, I don't know what you mean about large organisations.
Indeed. But are Glasgow getting their key players back at the right time, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, see, even though not very much, we didn't see much of Gregor Brown, the fact that he was there was a boost. We spoke last week about the difference George Horn made and what he drives, both in his play and in driving the standards, and also in just being the wee naff that shouts at everybody in true wonderful scrum half fashion. So, yeah, absolutely. And they'll have Adam Hastings back for a week on Saturday.
They will indeed. They seemed more resilient. Bearing in mind through the game kind of tick-tocked between scores. Glasgow were never streaking ahead as they do have a tendency to do. Ulster dug in and kept at it, but I think that dog streak in Glasgow that Glasgow have, that will look to be back.
A friend of mine who is a Leinster fan until Ulster are playing, then he remembers he's from Ulster. He commented that actually he thought that, he said Ulster could have won, but that looked like to him that looked like a Glasgow win every day of the week. And I think that's exactly what you were saying. There were points I thought Glasgow were going to blow it. Actually, I thought there was a bit in the second half that things were coming up and it was just going to fingertips and going down, or just pushing it a bit much. And I thought that was going to be it. But again, resilience isn't always doing everything right. Resilience is regrouping after things go wrong. And I think that was definitely evident there.
Yes. Yeah. No, it was at the start of that match with other results, it was not out of the question, if Glasgow had lost badly and some other results had gone their way, against them rather, that Glasgow finishing fourth. So the fact that they dug in and the other results were right. Well, the other results didn't need to be right because Glasgow won. But if they had lost, they could have ended up being away for all but the quarters. So no, it's exceptionally good news for Glasgow, I think. And well done to them for finishing at the top of what is a tough table with some great teams in it. So that's about it for the weekend's review. If everybody's happy with that, shall we move over to Patreon? We can chat about the seasons, how they've gone, look at positives for both teams, and the women, of course, and then have a little bit of hands in the ruck in 50-22 at the end. Is that good?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, to everybody that's joined us on the public stream, thank you very much and good night.
My study is up by my stepdaughter's room and said, thank you very much and good night. Her boyfriend was just leaving and said, love you, just after you said thank you very much. And I love you. And I was like, that's a sweet moment. It wouldn't have made it onto mic, but that would have been great if it had.
And we're clear. That's us on the Patreon only. Awesome. Phew, made it. Should we just blast straight into this? Alan, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I
absolutely.
thought you were going to say something. I beg your pardon.
I'm always about to say something. It just wasn't anything of any interest.
I am going to make a quick cup of tea, but dash on, and I will.
No,
I will return.
we'll wait for you. We can talk amongst ourselves.
No, could
I did like you said Johnny had sold his computer. I'm like, that could be taken in some directions, but I thought we're not on the Patreon. I can't say that.
No, we're not
Did
actually.
you manage to get it rebooted?
I don't know. It was literally as he was signing in, so it was hot off the press. I'm working to photographs of his notes.
Well, he's posted a picture. I know it's his laptop because it's got an anti-fascist action sticker on it. And he said, let's just say from the caption, he's very grateful that it's working.
Yeah, it's fine. Cool. Yeah, he can join us if he gets him up and running again.
I think he's probably got them up and running and he's going to go and stick them in the airing cupboard and leave them alone, would be my thought.
Yeah. Rice is the thing, isn't it, I believe?
I think Johnny might have been ready for ricing if he.
Yes. You need. That's what they recommend about your phone, isn't it? If you drop it in water, put in a tub of rice, because the rice actually absorbs the moisture.
Except nowadays, most phones are water resistant.
Yeah. I don't think it'd be quite so important now. But yeah.
AirPods, which was helpful because one of mine, I'd been listening to podcasts in my sleep, as I went to bed, and then woke up, went to the loo, and one fell out into the toilet just before I peed. So I was like, AirPod! But it turns out they're water resistant.
No, I can't get on with AirPods.
You're an Android man, aren't you, rather than Apple?
No, very much so. Very much Apple. I have iPhone and iPad. I just can't go on with their AirPods. I use Skull Candy. I find them far more comfortable. But I was almost going to lash out on quite an expensive pair of Bosch ones. Not Bosch, Bose. Last time I bought them, and I just couldn't bring myself to part with that amount of money for something I stick in my ear.
I would hate to tot up the amount I have spent in headphones over the years. Without proper headphones addicts would laugh at me saying I was a headphone addict, but most people would think it's a ridiculous amount of money to spend on headphones. Yeah.
No, I don't. For a techie guy, I'm not very. I'm not a gadget man. There's a pal of mine, a guy in the same industry as me, who just has every gadget going. He's got all the best headphones, he's got all the best devices, and blah blah blah. My iPad and my laptop are both top of the range, very expensive, but that's tools, that's work. Yeah.
I am very much so. I've been very gadgety, but I am very much. Now it's about what function does it give me? What do I get from it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Indeed. Right. Where are we?
Leslie, don't spill your tea over your computer. That's a top tip.
I'll try my best.
You heard it here first.
That would be IT. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Right.
If I was sorry, I wouldn't make those puns, to be fair.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Patreon side of the podcast. Thank you to those of you who are sticking with us. You know we're always grateful for your input and for your patronage. What we're going to do is we're going to cover off a little bit about the Women's Six Nations first. And we're going to look at three things that I'm going to come to both of you folks about as well, and we can talk through is takeaways from the tournament, points to improve, and positives that we can look forward to the next thing. We are then going to go on and have the same kind of chat about both Edinburgh and Glasgow. We'll finish up with Hands in the Ruck and 50-22 as usual. So, first of all, the Women's Six Nations, Wales, we won 24-19. England, an expected shellacking, but at home, 7-84. Italy, 41-14. France, 28-69, again at home. And Ireland, 54-5 in the Aviva. Scottish teams continuing their strong run of consistency in the Aviva. Isn't that what Nucifora is looking for? Consistency of our teams?
That's right. Yep.
He's getting that.
Oh, sword.
Yeah. So, did we learn anything about the new coaching setup or the women's team from this tournament? Leslie, I'll come to you first.
I think we have learned it was maybe more of an uphill task than Sione might have been expecting. I know we won that game against Wales, but we did have most of our players for that game. And as they got injured, it kind of got worse. But I think it's 5 games. It's still a bit too early yet to say. He's had one tournament, and he would have only have had that team together maybe a week, 2 weeks before the championship kicked off. It's still very new, and it is a completely new coaching team. I think you need to give him at least WXV to really get a bit of an understanding of what the players can do, who his players might be. It's too early. Too early to say, I think.
Yeah. Alan, anything to add to that?
I think we'll know more about the coaching team, as Leslie says. They've seen the adversity, how they respond to that adversity. That's when we'll learn about them. And when we'll learn more about the players, particularly the younger players coming through, and what we're looking for is the ones that are put their head down and sort of set their shoulders and go, right. And that is what we're looking for.
Yeah. And as you rightly say, Leslie, I think the next international our women have, if I've read correctly, is WXV in the 12th of September against Canada.
Now, I'm going to throw a tiny lady ball here because they're going to trial the 4.5 ball in this tournament.
Oh, okay.
Because of course you'll do it in an international tournament. Of course. Where else would you do it?
The kicking will absolutely go to pot.
It's not ideal.
No.
I think we could, to understate it a little bit. Unless they can train with it for quite a bit beforehand, that's not ideal. I guess the only benefit is all the teams are in the same position.
Indeed. But if they're trialing it at international level, the implication is they won't have been playing with it at club level.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not, why you would do it at a senior ladies international tournament, a brand new size ball, is wild.
That's mental.
It is. The feedback from some of the Sevens girls who have been trialling it is not great. They don't like the way they can't spiral it the same. They can do a size 5 ball.
Right.
So I think if you're passing, it's less of an issue, but when you're kicking, it's not great. But the trial, so I guess.
Yes.
It's playing into Scotland's hands because they needed to kick less and they did better when they kicked less. So they carry it up more. It's all coming up Scotland.
Excellent.
Hang on, I'm going to write that down.
Against Canada it's a tough old game to be your first game post Six Nations, but there we are.
Yeah, it is a tough one. But if we look at potential positives for the future, Alan, what do you think? Positives to look at in the women's game?
Well, I accidentally gave my positives on the council pod. I think with blooded players, some players look like they're going to step up. Aisha Sutcliffe being one of them, are going to look like they're going to step up to this level and actually not need that much bedding in. The emergence of Rachel Phillips, who was great against France, less great against Ireland, but the ball wasn't really getting to her. So, again, given they were getting so hammered up front. I think you can give an outside centre a bit of a break there. So yeah, I think it's players have had some experience at that level, probably ahead of schedule. So let's see how they deal with that.
And Leslie, positives, things we can look forward to on the women's team.
I think Alan's kind of summed it up. It's the blooding of the new players, and yes, it's probably sooner than Sione would have wanted to blood them, but well, we've already blooded them, so keep at it. WXV doesn't quite have the same cachet as the Six Nations, so yeah, another opportunity to continue to see how these players get on.
Stick with it.
There's nothing really to lose. It's more time that he's got with them, so it's a rebuild phase. It's going to take time. It's going to take, I think Unai probably understands how much needs to be done. So hopefully he gets the backing of the SRU and can make any changes he needs to make if that's what he needs to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And to be honest, I mean, you've covered what I thought my positives were as well for them. Was obviously the new players, but also it is a new coaching team. And you said yourself, Leslie, that he only had them for 2 weeks. He will have a view on how they want to play. He will have systems that take time for people to learn. So I'm not, irrespective of the fact it has not been a great tournament for Scotland, I'm not entirely disheartened. If the men's team had a score sheet like that at this juncture, I would have been in bits. But I think considering the transition, the coaching transition, and also the injuries we had, and I do worry a little bit about our depth. So maybe the SRU will look at doing that, although I have reservations about that.
This is just your inherent bias against women's rugby. You're not holding the women to the same standard as the men, Mark. That's the problem.
Just kidding.
I think very different points of their development.
Yes, they are, and regarding the SRU, Brian's made a very valid point that the SRU will probably be against the ball sizes because it means they'll have to spend money on different balls, which we know is a genuine issue for the some of the club levels, but I'm not convinced the SRU will be that tight. But then, who knows? Watch this space. Okay, so Edinburgh. Going back to the club games, let's look at what Edinburgh finished 12th in the URC. So not bottom. So there's a positive with 7 wins. What can we take away from that season to make us feel better, Leslie?
It's really got to be the youth, I think. As I sort of said in the council pod, as Alan called it, the Hector Pattersons and the Jack Browns and the Harry Pattersons have all played very well when given the chance. So I think continue to build on that is probably the plan for next season. Got some new blood coming in from David Yusufora's Rolodex, so that should be good. We're scraping the barrel here.
I've said it many times, a team peppered with those players. I don't mean the new ones, I mean the experienced internationals, of which Edinburgh have a fair few, shouldn't be regularly losing some of the games they've lost. Alan, do you see any positives I mean, one of the questions that I've got in the notes here is, are there points to improve? And you know that
Not a goal night.
we don't have all night. Stop being shit would be the all-encompassing one.
Have you tried being less shit?
Try being less shit, as you said earlier. Yeah. Do you see positives from the season?
I mean, there's only 2 years until Sean Everett leaves. I think also, look, at least for Edinburgh, the kicking is over. At least it's the kicking they were receiving, not the kicking they were doing. I think, look, it's a fresh start. That's the only thing. I know. Part of the insight to this is Johnny, who was due to be hosting, gave us homework. We had to say something, and it can only get better from here. Wasn't allowed in his best teacher voice.
Yes.
But actually, it's over. There are some bright sparks in terms of young players. Lewis Wells is to come back. Mosesi Tuipulotu actually looked like a player towards the end of the season, although I see he didn't feature in the last few games, so I don't know if he was carrying a knock. They've got Riley Higgins to come in, who does seem to have been tearing up trees in Super Rugby. So maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to say something nice. I am struggling a little bit. Edinburgh, we're not angry and we're not even disappointed in you anymore. It's getting to be that we expect this and you need to change that.
And that's a tedious place to be. Yeah. I think for me, I've tried really hard not to be cynical, which, as you know, is a difficult thing for me, even at the best of times. There are new coaches coming in, which means, and again, I'm trying to make this not sound cynical. However, what it means is Everett will not be in charge of the attack and Everett will not be in charge of the defence. Whether it means he will simply have somebody else to blame that remains to be seen. But you know, we said about the women's team, Sione said no time whatsoever to shape them. So, you know, give him the opportunity. God knows he deserves that opportunity more than Everett does.
I think Danny Wilson deserves the opportunity more than Everett does. And Danny Wilson is lamented across the M8. Look, maybe, okay, here's a positive. Maybe Everett isn't a hands-on day-to-day tactics coach. Maybe Everett's a manager. Maybe Everett's the guy that's talent development, pathways, does all of that. Maybe that's what he's there for. They've brought in coaching team to support him, to say, okay, we will, you know, Everett's the head figure, and this is what comes behind. Look, you know, by all accounts, that's what Sir Alex Ferguson was doing later on at Manchester United. It was his assistants that were actually taking the sort of running of the team and the style of the team. He was appointing people to do that, and he was overseeing the whole club. So if Everett's going to do that, and that's where his strengths lay, maybe we can actually give the man a break. You know, that'd be quite nice. I don't particularly like coming on and moaning about someone every week.
Yeah.
But we haven't had much reason not to, is the problem.
No, I think this is the problem. If Edinburgh were, for me anyway, the way I feel about it, if Edinburgh were performing week on week, not even winning week on week, but performing week on week, I would at least say, okay, I can see something there. I can see something that we can latch on to. But I think the issue I've had is that they haven't been performing and they don't play attractive rugby. We were told that Everett has been kept as because he's developing youngsters, But let's be quite clear, he's only started developing youngsters after we were told that. Some of the youngsters were coming through at absolute only necessity when injuries allowed it.
Maybe to the first team, but a Hector Patterson does not spring fully formed from the loins of the academy. You don't get a young player coming out and playing. So there is something happening behind the scenes, and maybe there's stuff that we are not seeing.
Yes,
that's going to come to fruition. There bloody better be, because otherwise it's going to be another wasted 2 seasons. But
yeah,
so maybe that's it. Maybe I'm trying hard to be polite here.
Yes, or you can risk Edinburgh becoming a development team like Connacht were for several years. Leslie?
Well, Connacht qualified for the top 8, and Edinburgh didn't. And
yeah,
on paper, you would say Edinburgh's squad is probably the better squad, apart from maybe 1 or 2 positions. But for the most part, it should be a better squad. And yet, Connacht are the ones that qualified. So, you can't really say Edinburgh are going to be a development team when you've got 3 British and Irish Lions in it. I think that's a bit too cute.
One of those is the ghost of Doohan, though.
yeah.
Your tries today is to second last game. Yeah, I know.
I mean, we've said this.
It's not a development team unless you really are going to go full. If you're going to do it properly. Go full Zebre, but
Well,
don't say it's a development team when it's not.
I think one of the challenges is as well that we can't have a full-on development team and bring all her top internationals back to Scotland whilst we only have 2 teams. The maths simply don't stack.
Hello, Newcastle.
Well, Newcastle Tartan Falcons is becoming a thing, right? Who was it they got this week? Was it Brian Easton?
Jake DL.
Jake DL.
Jake DL, yeah, of course, yeah, the young man. That surprised me a little, to say the least. I thought he would get a contract. I thought he'd get a contract at Glasgow, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I wonder if his dad doesn't want him anywhere near the car crash that's at Edinburgh. But I shouldn't put words into anyone's mouth there.
No, absolutely. This is raw speculation on our part, and rightly so. Brian's saying it's been a hard watch as an Edinburgh fan this year. And
Sure has.
he's making the point, and rightly, that the players, you even said yourself, Leslie, earlier, the players looked like they'd 1 foot on the beach already. I don't expect that from a group of professional players in any home game, let alone the last home game of the season. And I know you mentioned in the earlier part, Alan, and you're quite right that Connacht had a dog in the fight. But honestly, I don't care. Professional players should be able to get up for any home game. And that worried me a little bit. I think there's an attitudinal thing.
They were up for it. I mean, as I say, they were camped in Connacht's 22 for ages, for really long periods, and then they would knock it on, drop the ball, and the chance is gone, wasted. And then 5 minutes of the game's gone, and then before you know it, Connacht are down the other end and scoring. It's not. They were trying. That they just didn't have enough to get it over the line.
I keep coming back to it. It just doesn't look like they have any guile or exciting attacking game plan.
I don't know.
I remember on Patreon we had a slight technical hitch right at the last minute. Johnny was going to be hosting tonight, and he's had a technical issue. so there was a last-minute change. When I wrote notes on the Edinburgh game, I only wrote 3 words: dull as fuck. Because I started watching it, I kid you not, I fell asleep. I was watching it in the evening and I dozed off. For me to doze off in a rugby match is almost unheard of. I just found it really dull and really, it's like there was no, I wasn't even thinking, come on, because there didn't seem to be any chance of them coming on.
I also wrote 3 words for my review of the Edinburgh game, and it was dog shite, terrible, why? For my just why.
I thought it was going to be for fuck's sake. To be honest, would have been
Yeah. So
yeah. There's a bit of a lack of confidence. You sort of see it in the body language. They don't have that confidence that like Glasgow play with. They don't have that belief in themselves that it'll happen, it'll come off.
yes, and winning becomes a habit, but so does losing. If you don't have it in you that you can turn that round, the top 2 inches in rugby, as we talk about. So yeah, but and you take coming in.
Top 2 inches, is that right, Mark?
But sorry, you've thrown me off my start now. Edinburgh, new coaches coming in, new 10 coming. Whether he's the guy, I don't know, but that remains to be seen. All we can do, I think, is hope for the future that the new coaches make a difference. I think that will be seen probably very early in the next season. Within a handful of games, we'll know. Because we'll be able to see on the results.
They've got almost 5 months
Yeah.
between now and the next game.
Yeah.
So
they've got a full pre-season with all the players. I know Mr. Everett has had 2 of those already, but the new coaches will have full pre-seasons. So yeah,
and they won't have that many. They won't have that many weight the Nations League or whatever it is with Scotland, will they?
No, that's right. Yeah. That's small benefits, I suppose. Okay. Finally, let's leave Edinburgh behind and talk about Glasgow at basically the other end of the scale. Finished first with 13 wins. Positives for next year. Hopes for the future. Hopes for the rest of the season, of course, because Glasgow hopefully have 3 more games left. Alan, I'll come to you first. What are your thoughts on Glasgow? What can we look forward to from Glasgow?
Well, hopefully we can look forward to Glasgow looking like the team they did at the group stage in the Champions Cup. Players are coming back. It looks like they've had their wobble and have withstood it. You know, given how they'd been with the quarter-final loss in the Champions Cup and then the tour of South Africa. Cardiff at home and Ulster away could easily have been 2 losses. The Rock could have set in. They've steadied it. The Ulster game was far from a gimme. The Cardiff game wasn't either, but it was more comfortable. But Glasgow always believed they were going to win that Ulster game, and so it was shown. So So this is where show me on the doll where Scottish Rugby's hurt you, because I am feeling hopeful about Glasgow, and that's a horrible place to be in as a Scottish Rugby fan.
Yeah. And Leslie, Glasgow don't seem to have made quite the amount of recruitment, and they have,
No.
but they
No.
seem to have retained some of their big players. Is that the key for them? For next year?
I mean, yeah, I mean, they've effectively, just like Edinburgh 2 have had their budget. They say it's not been cut, but it's not been increased either, so it's effectively a cut. So they've obviously, is it 7 or 8 academy players they've promoted up?
Mhm.
The ones we've seen have played well, stepped in. So you've still got the likes of Sione hanging around for a little bit longer. You've got Gregor Brown, you've got Scott Cummings, you've got a real core of good quality players there. So
I mean, we're losing Hugh Jones, which is not ideal, but Stafford is being selected ahead of him
yeah,
at the moment. And I think
you've also got you've got Johnny Ventisai coming through as well, who played very well against Leinster, wasn't it?
yeah, and Kerry Yule is, I forget if he's 12 or 13, but he's a centre.
I think he's more 12 than 13, but can do both.
Right.
And we're not mentioning the fact that Ollie Smith can play 13, because actually
True.
my guess would be that Ollie Smith is going to be playing. There's going to be Pete Horning at a bit and playing a bit of 10.
Yes. Yeah.
And obviously we've got is it your Mob Punts Kunsel and Bailey Kunsel coming into.
Yes, of course. Living in a council house in Glasgow.
Absolutely.
But Bailey Kunsel, he's a centre. Are you surprised that Glasgow haven't named a new 10, Alan? Or do you think they'll cover it with existing?
I think they'll probably, I mean, as I say, I think Ollie Smith will be there at 10. I would be very surprised if Glasgow don't pick up a 10 before the start of next season.
Yeah. I mean, that was, when I was looking at it, that was my, if there was a hope for the future. I mean, the positives are Glasgow being Glasgow, and I think the big name players, if you like, coming back and staying around for next season. But the hope for change for me was, I'd like to see another 10 named. Because, I mean, Lancaster seems to be okay. Has Charlie Savala played at all?
Nope.
He's
not a single minute.
Yeah.
I think
Was he not only a year deal?
Yeah. I think he's like that loving feeling. I think he's going to be gone.
Yeah. Did Glasgow do an announcement of their leavers? Oh, they did, didn't they?
Did they? I don't recall seeing one.
Because they had the sort of presentation thing, didn't they, the other week at the end of because Johnny Matthews and all that, and his wife were there and had the shirts and photos and stuff. Don't remember Charlie Zavala's name being on the list.
They have, so they've confirmed the players that will move on. So 2 secs, let's see who they've got. Sione Vailanu, Batty, Dempsey, Hastings, Shug, Johnny Matthews, and Dunky Weir. So actually, I think you're right. Maybe Savala's going to be staying. It would be a bold move to assume Savala's going to play a meaningful part in the season, just because he hasn't been able to this season.
Yeah, he hasn't.
He's been injured, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was injured for a lot of it, but I believe not all of it. I seem to recall reading that he was available at one point, but not being selected. But I stand to be corrected on that. That could just be my memory playing tricks, which is
he might be available but not match fit. That's the other thing,
Well, absolutely. Which is again a huge step if you've spent months injured.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get Baby Tupelotu back as well. He's started to train back with the team. Tavio Tuipulotu.
Tavi, yeah, he's hooker, yeah,
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. Sione, I think I saw a quote from Sione saying that he's the best player out of the three brothers, Tavi. So it'll be interesting to see what he does at Glasgow. I think Glasgow are long on hookers, even with Johnny Matthews leaving. I think they have a good set of young hookers coming through. I think the fact that they've managed to retain Xander in the front row is a massive positive because he's got to be looking at bags of cash elsewhere soon. But yeah, I think, to be honest, if Glasgow can keep their main players fit, my view of their future is that we could see them in this position next year because they have formed such a solid body of a team. As you were saying earlier, Alan, they're resilient. The major difference, you both commented on it on various occasions. Edinburgh don't look like they can secure a win when they're up against it. Glasgow never believe they're going to lose. And I think that's a huge difference in mentality, and keeping the core of that team will retain that view.
Glasgow still believe they're not going to lose, despite having recently had 3 losses on the bounce, which is quite something.
Yeah. They're an incredibly resilient team. I hope they win this year. I really do. But at the very least, getting to the final and ideally playing it in Scotland, having put in all the effort to get to the top of the table. And it's worth remembering, if it wasn't for that absolute aberration against Scarlets, and I'm sorry to any Scarlets fans that listen, but for Glasgow going down and being nilled by the Scarlets, if Glasgow had come away with even 4 points from that, they would have been comfortably at the top of the table. So, yeah.
Did you guys see I can't remember who it was. Somebody put out a league table of if the games had finished at like 60 minutes, what would what the scores were in the games at that time? Where would people be in the table? So Glasgow were still top.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it gave you like all the points difference of what it is to what it would be. I think Glasgow were like 1 point fewer, so fine.
Right. Okay. Wow. I'm actually surprised at that because I thought Glasgow would have been lower down because they scored an awful lot in the last 20.
And then Edinburgh actually would have made top 8, which shows you that they just that second half, the second half of the second half, just it just goes to shit. It was quite interesting. There was a bit more movement than you might have thought.
Yeah,
Has Edinburgh got S&C? Have Edinburgh got new S&C coaches? Because that sounds.
I actually believe they do.
Good. That's interesting.
Coming in. I think they had what 15 injuries or something at the beginning of the season, which is just an insane amount before the season's even kicked off. So something wasn't quite there.
Yeah, they absolutely did. I do want to ask questions about our views on the potential for both our teams playing on hard surfaces being something to do with the fact that we get constant injuries, but I think that's probably a rabbit hole we want to save for another pod. Because our teams, I would need to go away and do research, but my feeling is our teams seem to have more injuries than the majority of others, particularly surprising for Glasgow, who pride themselves as being the fittest team in the league. So we shall see. Okay. So that's good. I think ending on a positive, we have got at least one of our teams doing really well at the top of the league, and that will leak through to our national squad and hopefully help with the psyche across the Scottish game. So talking about psyche across the Scottish game, shall we do hands in the ruck? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Go for it.
Thank you. I don't ask rhetorical questions. So, who wants to go first? Alan, do you want to come to your hands? And Leslie, do you want to go?
If Alan's got one, go for it.
Do you think I wouldn't have done my homework, Leslie? How dare you know me that well?
If you want to have thinking time, Alan, I do have one.
Fire on, Leslie. Fire on.
It's our favourite topic, Sean Everett. So they were already getting humped at the weekend there. And they brought Jerry Blythe Lafferty on at like 75 minutes. What's the point? What is the point? Why bring him on at all? You're getting humped. You're not playing for anything. Either bring the guy on and give him proper bloody game time. No bloody bother. You're just wasting everybody's time. Like, you keep saying you're bringing through players. Sure, sometimes. But you've got, a really young guy, just signed his first pro contract. You're already losing. It's your last game of the season. You're actually playing for nothing. And you're not giving him more than 5 minutes. Like, what is the point?
Yeah.
It's just so infuriating.
Yeah, it's kind of... I've seen other coaches do this, and hell, we've seen it at an international level. If you're bringing somebody on at that stage, particularly when you're getting pumped, what do you think he's not going to do that the other guy is currently doing? Or do you simply have no faith in them? Because if I was in the player's shoes, that's what I would be thinking.
Now, don't get me wrong, Ewan Ashman has been playing quite well. I won't take that away from him. But, Ewan Ashman's going to be playing international rugby probably in a month's time. Why not just let him have an extra bloody half an hour off? Let Jerry get a little bit of game time.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, because Alan, you'll remember, I'm sure as I do, when the Lions were in Australia and Suz was there on the bench and been called in. Suz being by far the best loose head in the home nations at the time. And Mako Vunipola was getting absolutely turned inside out. And they left Suz on the bench because they weren't sure.
No, that wasn't Suz. It was, what was his name?
Ryan Grant. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Ryan Grant.
Yeah, but yes, no.
Quite correct.
Point still well made. And you're just kind of like, look, you either faith or you don't. Maybe let's give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he meant to bring Bluetooth on sooner and he'd had a wee nap and just woke up and panicked and thought he better get him on.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, he was having a wee kip in the corner or making sure that his checks.
I can't blame the coach. His players were doing that as well.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, very true. Alan, did you have any hands in the ruck?
Sky News announcing the sad death of Scott Hastings with a photo of Gavin Hastings.
Yes.
And I've gone back and forth as to whether or not to bring this up with all the positive stuff, but bloody hell, do the bare minimum.
Yes. Make sure you get a photograph of the right bloody person. Yeah, that was dreadful.
Ask an older Scottish fan.
Yes.
We'll be able to tell you.
I mean,
because if you look at the comments, there was a ton of Scottish people going, "That's Gavin."
Yeah, I mean, let's be perfectly honest. They were similar, but they're a long way off being twins.
Their hairstyle was different throughout their whole career. Like, you just looked at the hair in that scarf, and the hair colour's different.
Mhm. Yep.
It was less different latterly, but that's because they both gone grey. But yeah,
Yes. I was reminded of a story, but I'm going to tell you off air because it's not one that anybody's going to believe. But yeah, that was absolutely dreadful. Just appalling. Any other hands in the ruck from you guys? Because I see we don't have any from the viewing public, which is actually quite a good thing.
It's happy in the camp.
Yeah, absolutely. The only one I have is that in the Glasgow game, you ask for. I know I don't want to constantly whine about refs. All you want is consistency, right? Glasgow had what, 2-3 yellow cards? 2. And when Kyle Rowe scored the winning try, while I know the game was nearly done, going down to 14 men would not have been an issue, he almost got his head taken off by the tackler in the act of scoring. It was banked the rights, at least a yellow, but they went back to look for an obstruction that wasn't. And the TMO didn't even look at the hit on Rowe. And all I'm saying is, come on, TMOs, be consistent. It was blatant for all to see.
I did love the Ulster fans going, that try was stopped by an obstruction. Well, no, it wasn't. They looked at it and the referee was like, actually, I thought the TMO was called Monty Fuck, because that's what I was thinking, Monty Fuck TMO. Because it was just although the scorn that the referee had in his voice was he was trying to was highly amusing. But even if it had been an obstruction, that doesn't allow you to hit someone in the head.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And it was a straight arm around the face. How he wasn't carded for it is beyond my comprehension. And I can't help myself. All the stuff about the French, the TMO not getting the French feeds and all that sort of thing, which I think is nonsense. But then you begin to wonder, is the TMO not seeing that replay or not being able to get that replay, or is he simply not looking?
I think he got focused on the potential obstruction, and I think it was ignored because a try was scored. Because they're like, well, we don't need to. But that should have been yellow card and off-field review.
Yeah.
I think I do.
At any stage of the game, even right at the end,
yeah.
If the idea behind yellow cards for foul play, because head contact happened, to use the referee's verbiage, head contact happened, so it meets the foul play threshold, so yellow card off for review.
Well, if Josh McKay's with the yellow card and off-field review, then
so
fuck with that. No.
Yeah, exactly.
On the plus side, though, it's really nice after Irish rugby fans giving so many Scotland fans, including John Anderson, late of this parish and currently in Bilbao, I think we shouting on Border Beglars and already, giving him stick for Scotland fans booing the kicker. It was nice to see that Irish fans don't boo the kicker, wasn't it?
Honestly. Well, I think I said to you that I got something in my messages from a guy who I don't follow, doesn't follow me, but had clearly seen one of the guys I responded to. This was about the Leinster game. And going, oh, it's the booing in Glasgow. Do you all like the booing? Do you like booing? Is that what it is? And then, of course, a week later, the Leinster fans are howling. I just reposted this tweet.
Well, the really funny thing was, I said it was good to see Irish fans don't boo kickers, and I got somebody going back saying, "Don't tar us all with the same brush." And I was like, "It's funny you should mention that."
Yeah, funny you should say such a thing. Yes, that's right. Oh,
But I mean, genuinely.
sanctimony is shite, you know.
Well, and also look, one of the reasons I don't boo a kicker is I don't think it's any bloody use. You know, so my pearls are not clutched about them booing George Horn. It's the fact that they make such a thing about not booing them.
Yes, that's my issue as well. Is I don't partake myself. But if people do, it's part of professional sport. It is what it is, right? I'm not getting upset about it. What I get upset about is the sanctimony is shite, mostly from Leinster fans saying, no, we don't do that. Until you're losing, then you want to listen to the lot of you, you know?
It's like Australians complaining about whinging Poms, and then when they start losing at sport, you will not see a team whinge more than a losing
Worst
Australians.
losers, yeah. Absolutely that, yep. All right. Let's finish up on the upside then. I do have a couple this week, but I will cede to you guys to start with. Anything that you've enjoyed seeing this week in our 50-22 section?
I'll give Alan some time to think about something. One of mine is Aoife Wafer's big old swan dive under the posts.
Right.
We don't. I know it was against us. I know. But it's not often we see women players doing try celebrations so much. So to see her going for the full Chris Ashton swan dive was lovely. Like, good on her. Like, I mean, yes, I would have preferred it if it wasn't against the Scotland team, but it is what it is. It was lovely. Enjoyed that.
Alan, you get in?
So I actually had one prepared. I'd just forgotten it, and I can't believe I'd forgotten it. But the fact that Sunday was the Siobhan Cadogan Cup being contested, as you both know, I was involved in the Ovation campaign for Siobhan, and to be honest, when we started that, the thought that we could get to this point was genuinely just pie in the sky. So the fact that Siobhan is immortalised and has a rightful place in Scottish rugby, with a cup being contested in her name, is just incredible, absolutely amazing. And there was tweets from her, messaging social media from Siobhan's mum and dad about what a day it had been for them. Very hard, but very fulfilling. And after a really hard journey that was harder than it needed to be and caused a lot more stress and hurt for Siobhan's loved ones than was absolutely necessary and than should have happened, I think to get past that and to get to this point, that really is quite something. And actually, well done that you've got here. Well done that we've got here.
And yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think we have been very critical, and rightly, of the unions for not moving quickly enough on that. But at least they got there. So a little credit where it's due on that front.
Absolutely.
Took their time and went down some bad paths, but at least they've got to the right thing. No, that's excellent. Quite right. Funnily enough, I have a couple. I will come back to you, Leslie, because I know you have another one.
No, you're fine.
But I've got a load. I've actually had a really good rugby week, in that I'm actually feeling quite upbeat about it. Not least of all because I went to, quite specifically, the Jed Forest Sevens last weekend. And you know what? I hadn't been steeped in club rugby for a while because I've been living in West Lothian where there's not an awful lot of it. Moving back down here. And there were two things particularly struck me. One was that there was a bunch of young lads standing next to me. I had no idea who this old grey-haired guy was next to them. But they were talking amongst themselves while watching the game. And I reckon these guys were between 16 and 18, that kind of ballpark. Certainly some of them getting away with ordering pints for the rest, right? As you do at the sevens. But their knowledge and understanding of the game, I think they were Jed boys, but I was tuning in on their conversation, their knowledge of the game, their understanding of the game, their knowledge of the players from all the other teams. You know, our guys will have to watch them, Jimmy, whoever, because he's rapid and all of this. I was just really struck that you only see that at clubs, you know, these youngsters who are absolutely steeped in the game. They were talking amongst themselves. Nobody was trying to be smart. This was just how they spoke and their knowledge. I was really, really enjoying listening to it, you know. And the other side of the coin that got me, the other thing at the sevens was there was a wee lassie who was on the ball team. They were all it's all wee laddies, and there was this skinny wee thing who was, I'm guessing it's been a long time since my daughter was that age, but I'm guessing she was 10, 11, that kind of ballpark. And she got the ball in the dead ball area and had to get to the other side of the dead ball area, and she was kicking the leather off it. Beautifully accurate kicks and landing exactly where they were supposed to land. And I was watching and thinking, that's fantastic. And what really struck me was what a difference in the game that one lassie on the ball team now has all of these professional women to look up to. What a difference from only a handful of years ago, really, that she wasn't looking and going, God, I can play at Murrayfield one year, you know? And I just thought, I thought the way the women's game has come on to act as role models for these youngsters, because the laddies have always had it, right? But the women not so much. And I just, these two things at the sevens really struck me. And it's nice to see the club game again and go down to a club and have that little bit of affirmation about why I loved rugby in the first place. You know,
I'm glad you enjoyed the Jedburgh sevens, Mark.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I get you. Leslie, you had another one.
I did. I have forgotten it. However, since you mentioned club rugby, mine's going to go to Ayr, and Watsonians for winning their club league. Both, you know, the club competition. Ayr, for a couple of years in a row now, we've won everything. We've played really well. Their captain is retired. Blair, his last name has escaped me. But yeah, and they play some nice rugby too. Yeah. And I know we don't talk enough a lot about the domestic game on the pod. We haven't got time for that, but it was. I watched it. I actually watched the final, and it was a real cracking game. I think partly in a way, there's no TMO, so the referee just makes a decision, and you just have to get on with it. And it was quite refreshing, and it was quite a tight game for the Ayr game. I didn't see the ladies the final, unfortunately, but I did see the Ayr game, and it was great. Just it was obviously not the same level as the pro game, but bloody enjoyable all the same. Really close. And
I couldn't agree more. And worth saying that every one of the players, every one of the commentators, every one of the podders, all of us, that is where our rugby started, in the club game at whatever level. I know there are people who have only got into it in the professional era, but the club game is what drives us. And I would canvass anybody if you want to deepen your knowledge of the sport, get down to your local club, buy a pint, talk to the guys at the bar. You know, it's a great way to watch the game. Alan, do you have anything else for the 50-22 at the moment?
No, I had my big series one, so I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Well, in that case, I'll finish up on just a couple that I got that I will, if I can find them, I will post up. I will post up reels on our socials about Tom Stewart, the Ulster hooker, being very front row during the Glasgow game, where the referee was saying to them in the second half. Now, he had to call the front rows together, and he was giving them a ticking off and said, now, you all had to, we were fine in the first half, but you've come on, and it's all gone to shit, basically. And Tom Stewart said, with all due respect, sir, I was on in the first half. You've got to love a hooker going, wasn't me? You know, even when he's chatting with the ref, wasn't it me, ref? I was there in the first half when it was working, and so these guys.
Should I check the number of my bank now? Aye.
Yeah.
Less than 15.
Yeah, that's right. And it just made me laugh. That, with all due respect, come on. And the final thing was the ref in the Wales game getting hit. Did you see that?
Yes.
She got proper hit by one of the Wales players. But her response was just fabulous. The Welsh player went up to her and said, you know, sorry, ref. And her response was, that's why I retired, mate. Jesus, good hit. You know? And it was a lovely humorous moment in the middle of it. I thought the ref handled it exceptionally well, and the player, to be fair. So, and that the clip of that's been going around fair made me chuckle. Not so much the ref getting hit, these things happen, but it was her response. That's why I retired. Almost went, I need to, you know. You're not wrong. All right, awesome. Any more for any more? Are we happy to call it a night? Hell's bells.
Yeah.
I think we can stick a fork in it for the regular season. We'll come back in to preview the postseason in a week.
Yes, absolutely. With the big old Glasgow games coming up, we of course have no games this weekend in the Scottish teams, but we have Agent Anderson, Mr. Anderson, in Bilbao in the moment, so we'll hope to get some of his reflections on how that went as well. So, thank you very much, all of you lovely patrons, for listening, and we will call it a night just now. So, thank you from me, and good night. And
Judy.
Thank you, and good night.
Awesome.